person, so we. Paul's in the room. Hey, Paul.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Paul.
You going to a trip to Britain?
Yeah, so I've got September 6th through the 20th. We're going to be in London for 5 nights, Edinburgh for 4, and then Dublin for 4.
So can this be possibly construed to be El Rapa related, since there was a historic real watershed deadly air pollution incident in London, you know, back in the early 50s.
Oh, wow. No, I didn't know that.
How many else are we waiting for?
Unknown.
Okay.
Are we waiting to start still for a minute?
Pauline now. Don't listen for the door.
Yeah, anyway, in the early 50s in London, there was a terrible air inversion set in, and it was very foggy, and they burned a lot of coal.
Yep.
And it killed a bunch of people.
Whoa, really?
Yep.
Someone else, Teresa, just showed up.
So Teresa's our interviewee for public health. I have much of a showing for her. There's
I know.
attendance.
Oh, Peter. They're all showing up now.
Okay. Well, we'll give that a minute.
With Evelina or Chris.
Are you able to show Title 47 on the screen
Chris May will be the
when the time comes?
Yeah. Do you want the current or the?
The proposed change.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi, Peter.
Right.
And
Oh, there's Evelina.
Oh.
hi, Teresa. Thanks for joining.
Hello.
So we were just saying we're a bit light on attendance right now, but it's not uncommon for folks to come in a minute or two late. There's Evelina. Hi. So I'm gonna go ahead and start. We have our agenda. Looks like we don't have anyone from the public who wants to speak. Oh, so we're gonna go right into your interview, Teresa. I forgot that. We'll do the board meeting overview last, so feel free to unmute. And so I sent your application out to the members. I hope they had a chance to glance over. And this is very informal. I just thought we'd start by having you introduce yourself.
Hi, I am Teresa Rourke with Lane County Public Health. I attended, I think it was a couple of months ago, but I recently started in a new position within the environmental health section of Lane County Public Health, focused on environmental justice. And internally with Lane County Public Health, we talked about it and felt that representing public health on this committee probably fit a little bit better with my work responsibilities. I am also personally interested to be more involved with LRAPA and the work to regulate air quality as an important issue, public health issue, as well as an environmental justice issue. So that is me and my introduction. Is there anything else you'd like me to touch on?
I'm just glancing through here. Anything you want to share is welcome. I see you have a master's in public health and 10 years of experience. All right. Any committee members want to ask a question?
I guess I would just ask if you had an opportunity to look at the new website that LRAPA just recently kind of outrolled, and some of the various things that they tackle, like the permits and asbestos and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, I've definitely looked at it. And I am sure I will look kind of moving forward because I continue to like learn new things. But yeah, I've explored the website. I particularly appreciated how easy it is to find the public meetings information. I've had some conversations with Travis about the permitting process. Um, so yeah, I have had a chance to explore the website.
Nice, good. Given that it's kind of new, or, it's nice to get a little bit of feedback, to hear how the navigation is for folks, because yeah, it's some pretty big changes actually. And then, some of this stuff is pretty complicated. The permitting side of things is pretty complicated,
Yeah.
so.
Mhm.
Nice.
Well, always like to explain a bit about the committee in terms of we serve at the board's pleasure, and we're not able to take on projects on our own. We need to get board approval first, and we'll also get as issues come up, the board will assign projects as well. And there's rarely a hard clock on that, so we can take our time on those kinds of issues. But anyway, the point is we're not free to just tackle whatever we feel like. But the board is very easy to get along with too, if we have something that makes sense to them. But more often than not, we have a project from them to work on. You have any questions for us?
Nope, not at this time. My colleague Jeff has kind of given me some background and prepped me for this as well.
Jeff has been a very active and effective member, so I'm sure he gave you good background. So the way the process works is we will take a vote on whether or not to recommend your membership to the board. And then at the next board meeting, your application will be presented and the board makes the ultimate decision. But I can't think of a time they haven't followed our recommendation. So if we're all done, unless anybody else has another question, we'll ask you to.
Paul does.
Oh, sorry, Paul, go ahead. Missed your hand.
Yeah, hi, good morning, Teresa. I see from the application you were on the Springfield Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, which is something of personal interest because I'm an avid cyclist. But did that involve any participation in the Springfield Main Street project? And did you think there were any environmental related issues to that?
Yeah, I mean, so this is I was on the Springfield BPAC as a private citizen, a resident of Springfield, not an employee of Lane County. Just to clarify that, but I thought it would kind of like illustrate my experience on different advisory committees. The BPAC was involved in the Main Street Safety Corridor. Mainly we would receive updates from staff. We weren't in a decision-making capacity in terms of the decisions around the Main Street safety program coordinate or around the Main Street safety study. And I don't think that Lane County has taken a stance on the Main Street safety study. I would say that as a citizen of Springfield and a pedestrian and bicycle user, I support improvements to Springfield's Main Street that protect public health and safety, and feel that the parts of Main Street could do with some improvement. There should be some sort of improvement that we can agree on, since it is a very busy, high traffic area of the street. But again, that's my opinion, not the opinion of Lane County.
Mhm.
Does that answer your question?
Oh, well, I was just wondering, were there any, if you might have been involved in any of the, providing input on any of the specific environmental issues, because I understand that was one of the impetuses on the Springfield, Main Street project.
I have not been, no, I have not been involved in specific environmental portions of that study. We would primarily receive updates
Mhm.
from the city staff as the study was going on.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Peter?
Yeah, hi, Teresa. Peter. I noticed in your application, you said you're particularly interested in supporting and strengthening public engagement and education efforts.
Mhm.
So I was curious, what kind of tools and opportunities do you use in EJ at Lane County that would, you think, apply for El Rapa?
These are really good questions. I am still figuring that out. So this position has existed for 3 months now. So I am both new to this position and it is a new position, but like cornerstone of environmental justice is that the people involved in decision or people impacted by decisions are involved in them. So I don't have particular tools in mind. Or like an answer, but I do think it came up a little bit already. The permitting process is very complicated and community members care a lot about air and air quality. And I'm interested in if there's a way that we can work together or if I can support strategies for like meaningful collaboration between communities and LARAPA on the permitting process, and like building the capacity of community members to engage in the permitting process effectively.
Great, thank you. I appreciate the inclusive emphasis.
All right, anybody else? Okay. So I kind of lost my train of thought from earlier, but so your application will be presented to the board of directors. They don't meet in August, nor do we. So it'd be the second Thursday in September, and we'll present your application and our recommendation at that time, and they'll make a decision, I expect, on the spot, and then you would be official. So unless anybody has anything else, I'll ask Teresa to step away, and we'll discuss the interview and vote on a recommendation. All right.
You.
Thanks, Teresa. I'll be in touch by email to let you know about our decision.
Great, thank you.
We're good to speak freely. Okay. Any thoughts for discussion?
I haven't worked with her. I know Travis probably has more than anyone else here in El Rapa, but I don't have any feedback on that experience.
Well, she presents well with her interview.
My only comment would be to the interview process in general, is maybe having a couple of more standard questions for new folks, because there's always some awkward silence.
Yeah,
it's-
it is.
it-
Maybe it could be formal.
I feel like maybe we could give it some thought in
Like,
advance.
Why do you want this job?
Yeah, well, I realized, my bad, I realized that Travis and I were maybe the only ones to see the application, and it's suddenly yesterday. Oh, no.
Well, but even then, it answers stuff. It's, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know exactly what questions. I just know that this is, that, they're always a little awkward and
Yeah.
nobody really has any questions. So
Well, that
maybe as a
could
group,
be-
we can come up with some.
That could be an agenda item in
I
the
don't-
future, but, anyway.
But no, I thought she was, yeah, I thought it was great.
Any comments from y'all?
I think she's a very strong candidate. I would fully support her.
Okay,
Um,
Uh,
I agree. She's a strong candidate. I think you said in the opening, Jim, you kind of laid out what we do at LRAPA and that, or what the Citizens Advisory Committee does at LRAPA, and what the purview is, what our function is. So I think we've had some potential applicants who perhaps were bringing in outside agendas. And so that's why I brought up about the Main Street project in Springfield. But, my concerns at least are completely allayed in that regard. And, I feel like she's a strong candidate and would be good.
let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 committee members. I think that's a quorum, so we can, I could entertain a motion as far as recommending her to the board.
I so move.
I second.
Kelly seconds. Any discussion? If we're ready to vote, all in favor of recommending Teresa Rourke to the public health position on the Citizens Advisory Committee. Should we just say aye? Raise hand or both?
Aye.
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 Okay, so that's unanimous. And so on that subject, like I mentioned, the board meets next on the second Thursday of September. And it happens that Kelly and I are both taking vacation at that time. Before this application came in, we were thinking that's no big deal. We're not meeting in August anyway, so we don't need to present what the committee's been working on. But now with this application, I would like to get the board's attention to that in September. So would any of you like to attend the board meeting and do that? Or we could have LRAPA staff do it. Shall we go with staff? Is that okay with you, Steve?
Yeah, we need to have, of course, the decision today and make sure it's clear to the board that we're just the messenger rather than
Sure.
the decision on the recommendation.
Could we just draft a little memo to staff?
Could be in our minutes.
Oh, okay. That would be
However we
fine.
want to do that, it was agreed that LRAPA would carry the recommendation forward to the board on September 14th.
Okay,
Okay,
perfect.
so we're covered. All right. So moving on, we have board meeting overview. It was a very full meeting. First off, there are 2 new members from Eugene. We had Mike Johnson, who has extensive experience in real estate. And then we had Dylan, was it Plummer?
Plummer.
And he's with Sierra Club. And then we have 1 outstanding seat still open from Springfield. On other topics, I forget if we mentioned here, but Debbie has retired. So wish her well in retirement. And now we have help from Heather. Oh, right. So you guys on air, we met Heather in person, but I don't know if you can see her on the screen at the far end of the table there, but that's Heather Gravel.
Gravel,
And you've been, what, 2, 3 weeks now?
2. This will be maybe it's the beginning of my 3rd week.
Okay. Matt Keating, again, raised the question of moving the board meeting time to late or to evening in hopes of getting more public participation. And so there's some discussion. Thank you. So there's some discussion about that and ultimately decided to conduct a doodle poll. But it was proposed to move to 5:15 p.m. on the second Thursday. He withdrew that proposal to wait and see what the doodle poll results were.
Who are they polling?
Board members.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll see what happens there. There's an executive session for Steve's performance review. And they ended up tabling the compensation decision while they gather some information about comparative pay in other districts. So Steve's gotta wait
Till September.
till September. So
Yep.
don't go buy that sports car yet.
Right. Right.
Landscape presentation, there's a capital project that had been in the works and got delayed on doing some work in the parking lot. And was that,
So we've got two capital projects. This is the first one. This one's more about just general maintenance to resurface the parking lot. Address some safety issues along the way with better lighting and to make it so that the visibility is better with getting rid of some shrubbery that are very mature that block vision from people entering the building, and trying to address slip, trip and fall type of things with an uneven parking lot. So basically the last time this was done was about 15 years ago. So it's time again to do the resurfacing. So we're having to go through Springfield permitting type of questions and process to be able to get to do this project. But it's all basically maintenance in the name of safety that we're going to do it.
and that has already been budgeted, right?
It's already been budgeted. They didn't have to approve it, unlike the next one you're going to describe.
Mhm.
But this one is just giving them an update and where we are with it, in hopes that we actually can get it done before the rainy season starts, if we can, this year.
Yeah, and then the other project then was some work, some remodeling in the building. There's a preliminary design,
Right.
and so then the question for the board was whether or not to go to a more detailed next phase for that, which they did vote to do.
Yes.
So still design phase on that.
It's a much bigger project because it involves renovation of the building internally, not making any bigger size to the building footprint wise, but it's going to create a situation where we're going to have to work somewhere else, for example, while the construction goes on, if we can see that we can fund the project, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of 800,000 to $1 million project. And every year we wait, the more expensive it gets. And it's the kind of thing that if you've owned the building since 1999 and we haven't put hardly any money into the building, it's time. So that's the nature of the work, and hopefully come out at the other end with a much more usable meeting space for meetings like this and with the public, as well as a more functional building for what the workforce and the work environment is nowadays. So that's the project.
Have you done your asbestos survey?
I
yet?
know, I was thinking the same.
We are on it. We have capable people in the building.
So that's most of my notes. The meeting ran over pretty late with all those things, so they opted to skip the director's report and old business. They shoehorned me in for a real quick lightning.
Yeah.
The survey's done and nobody really said anything at the end of the meeting. So Travis took that as tacit approval and went live with the survey. And as far as I know, nobody objected to that, so it's a done deal.
Do we know if anybody's taken it?
I don't know.
All right.
It just went live a few days ago, so
Yeah.
Be curious to see.
what kind of input we're getting?
Yeah, well, and yeah, how long it takes to hopefully.
Was there anything from the director's report that you want to highlight?
Nothing out of the ordinary, other than the fact that it was probably the last director's report you're gonna see that doesn't have a whole lot of activity dealing with wildfire smoke for this year. We're quickly moving into that season already. Got a little bit of delay this year because of the wet spring, but yeah, that's gonna be first and foremost on the front. on the forefront of everybody's minds going forward into the fall. In which we'll talk more about that at one of the next
Yeah.
agenda items. And yeah, nothing out of the ordinary there. No.
Okay. Well, yeah, as far as the next agenda item, I opted to just have an open discussion about some summertime air quality issues, thinking it would be worth discussing, but not a very lengthy discussion, and could maybe be a good fill out the rest of our time, since we knew we had Teresa's interview. So I guess in my mind, for summertime air issues, there's fugitive dust, and then there's smoke and wildfires. So Evelina's probably painfully aware of the rules on fugitive dust from roadways and whatnot, and you probably deal with that all the time, but I wondered if the others were aware of the requirements. So I don't know if you want to jump in, but
Wearing the mask, you're talking about those kinds of requirements?
no, I'm talking about if you're operating on an unpaved road, say.
Oh,
You are not allowed to have any
Leave the
airborne
property.
dust.
yes,
or stuff like
so
that.
it's gonna be important for speed control, for wet suppression, or any other kind of dust suppression that's allowed to be put down. And then just controlling your trips per day, if at all possible, depending on what you're transporting and what kind of vehicle you're driving. Sometimes these things are mentioned in permits if it's related to an air permit, sometimes they're not. But close to neighborhoods or activities of the public is where you need to be the most cognizant of that. Is that what you had in mind?
Yeah, just. You can't just be throwing a plume of dust and going down the road. But yeah, as far as my permit, I have to do a opacity check once a week for any fugitive dust or other emissions going beyond the plant boundary.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm sure your dust control issues are more than mine.
It's an interesting thing though, because even when LRAP come out, people are generally surprised because, our static groundwater level is only about 19 feet below ground surface. And so from the excavation standpoint, most of it's all damp.
Yeah.
And then we use conveyors with, of course, water and spray bars. And so it's really only over at kind of at the crusher and then near the dump site that we have dust.
Mhm.
The crusher is basically in the middle of, our property. So leaving the site is, it would be pretty difficult to do. It's near our dump site, but I'm actually in the process of trying to vacate Wildish Lane. We bought the other side, and so
Your facility boundaries.
so our
have changed.
facility boundaries have changed. But yeah, there's various BMPs. A lot of quarries and sand and gravel operations use like wheel wash, because one thing that people don't realize is track out. If it's muddy and then of course it dries, and that can
I was gonna
lead
ask
to
about
dust
that.
offsite. But we have, luckily we have equipment, right? We have street sweepers and we have water trucks, and usually in the summer we've got 2 to 3 going at a
So you
time.
don't have wheel wash.
We don't have a wheel wash. Wildish has opted to do a lot of paving as one of the BMPs. So there's more than a mile of pavement between the pit and Delta. And so any potential track out or any potential dust, that's one of the BMPs that a lot of people don't think of, is the pavement. It helps.
BMPs, are you thinking mostly stormwater or combined stormwater and air?
Combined, just best management practices to keeping that stuff. We do a lot of wetting and then of course graveling the roads. That's one thing that we encounter around the crusher. When that dust settles, it kind of fills in the gravel.
Yeah.
And so keeping, but then you're also limited, right? When it's asphalt rock, you can't really wet it because you're putting it into a burner with oil. And so there's, the concrete, sand and whatnot is easy to wet, but there's limitations on the asphalt rock. So it's challenging, especially in these red flag days when the winds are up.
And you have pavement that creates the higher need for sweepers.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I first got into managing the environmental permit, I was surprised that we had a satellite log yard down 28th Street on an unpaved section of city street. And I got a visit from John Morrissey back in the day. you can't have this dust, and so I had to do dust control on a public street, which meant I had to get a city permit to do that periodically.
Oh, wow.
And it was a significant amount of work to get all that organized.
Yeah.
But Evelina, do you have to take measures with regard to dust on the site?
Yeah, most of our surfaces are paved, and so we don't really have to deal a whole lot. We perform frequent sweeping because of the stormwater. I mean, we handle mostly plywood, and so there's a little bit of dust. Unless we get an upset condition on our back houses, we don't really have a whole lot of dust. But yes, we do have to perform the opacity observations on the dryer, but honestly, we haven't been using it that aggressively, so we've been compliant for a while now. I mean, the business a little down, so we're good.
Yeah, that's a whole other summertime issue with veneer dryers and haze from dryer exhaust.
Mhm. I'd say the agriculture dust around us is one that I've actually called El Rapid to be like, just to let you know, the farmers are out with the plow. That is not us in advance, because it is like
They have
plumes
a big.
across Coburg Road, like the entire like visibility is like from farming. It can be pretty bad.
Yeah, and like Steve was saying, and maybe you all know already, but agriculture is completely exempt from
Yeah.
all those rules,
Yep.
which you probably couldn't do it otherwise, so.
Right.
Well, I think that exhausts fugitive emissions. And then, yeah, we've got our first couple of fires in the area. So,
Right, the one that may have an impact in the eastern part of Lane County, maybe starting tonight, going into tomorrow, is the Bedrock Creek Fire, I think is what it's called. And depending on the wind shift and when it occurs, it may impact Oak Ridge area. Yeah,
So as far as tracking that kind of thing, is Lance the one who looks at the meteorology? Or?
Lance and Travis both. Travis will be back in the office tomorrow, but then, yeah, we keeping an eye on not only the meteorology, but also coordinating with DEQ on the whole state and new fires versus existing fires, and just where is it all traveling to. So you probably saw an air advisory already, one or two from El Rapa and DEQ over the past week. We're in that time of year now. Sure would be nice to get some rain, huh?
It'll be a while.
I know, I was thinking that
Well, I was
a little bit this
surprised by
morning.
that.
Yeah, little misty.
I know, I woke up, I was like, ooh, there must be a bad fire. It's so dark.
Yeah.
But then we took the dog, they're like, wait, it's wet. This is unexpected.
Yeah.
All right, well, anything along that note or any other topic?
Just that I wanted to bring up the last agenda.
Oh, I forgot we had that one still.
Yeah.
I jumped over that.
That's okay.
Beg your pardon.
You're in
All right,
charge.
let's talk again, Title 47 rulemaking.
So this is more of an informational, to try to get we're doing quite a bit of rulemaking, and this one has just kind of popped up, for us to try to address along with the other rulemaking that we're pursuing. The other rulemaking I'm alluding to is the rulemaking we have to do to catch up to what DEQ put into place that became effective March 1st of this year. So there's a number of our titles that have to be revised to match some of the DEQ changes. We also are looking to make some changes to our asbestos rules that later on we will bring that to CAC and also to the board so we can get it advanced. But this one came up as a quick little pick or informational snapshot of the town of Lowell has changed their ordinance 308, and they wanted to allow some more, they wanted to allow residential outdoor burning from October 1st through June 15th. Currently in our Title 47, that is not allowed. So basically the change that's going to be made is to just allow the town of Lowell to be lumped in with one of the paragraphs that's currently in our rule, which I believe is now going to be called paragraph G. Right now it's paragraph H, because paragraph G was all about eliminating inside Lowell city limits to be able to burn from March 1st through May 31st. But, you know, you had approved days from March 1st to May 31st, but then October 1st through October 31st. Those dates are no longer going to be applicable for what they want to do. They want to burn from October 1st through June 1st, June 15th of every year, which their ordinance already allows. So we're trying to get rid of that conflict between their ordinance and our Title 47. So that's really all. I just wanted to bring that up to you that we're going to do so that they can join a bunch of other cities that are allowed to do the same thing. There's a pretty good list there.
Yeah, it's,
So what I'll do is, depending on the timeline of when we can bring this forward with the board as well as the other rulemaking, whether these can be combined or not, you have to work closely with DEQ and EPA to see what we can get on the agenda for the EQC eventually. But we got to do all the intermediate steps now, including notifying EPA. But this is just a courtesy to bring to your attention that we're trying to take care of this at the same time if we can. That's really all it was.
okay.
Not a wholesale change of our Title 47, but more of a surgical approach on one paragraph.
Yeah, well, that's nice. It worked out that well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little surprised at the long list of cities that do the same.
Okay, that was it.
Okay. Well, we have plenty of time for roundtable. Evelina, do you have anything?
Well, actually, I did have a question about the survey. When is the deadline, or when do we review everybody's response? Have we determined a date when we're closing out the survey and we're like, we're done, we're gonna review everybody's?
Yeah, well, there's sort of two branches. There's an ongoing, anybody can fill out any survey anytime. But at the time that we've traditionally asked permittees to take the survey, we thought we would send out a reminder email and do that again at the same time, which I believe was February or March. And then we would do a review after that response and compare it to historical responses.
Okay, great, thanks. I somehow
Yeah.
missed that part, but.
I should mark my calendar, make sure we follow up properly.
No questions or comments here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Paul, got anything for roundtable?
No, nothing for me.
Okay. Kelly?
No, nothing today.
And none for me either. So I guess we get to adjourn early.
All right.
Do you have anything on your list at all?
No.
Yep.
I just didn't know if we had to, for the rulemaking, we didn't need like any action.
Well,
Just them verbally saying, okay.
well, has everyone had a chance to even look at the rulemaking?
Yeah, I
The-
did.
the
It's
lull,
pretty
yeah.
Simple. I
So
thought.
if you wanted to say you're okay with it, as far as going to the next part of the process, we could do that, but it's still early in the process if you wanted to.
Would you like us to do that? or
It would
just-
be helpful.
Oh, okay.
Knowing
I
that the
didn't
next board
realize
meeting
you-
is not till September, but
Sure.
November could actually work too.
So before we officially adjourn, if we go back to that Title 47, so we're looking for what kind of action?
Action, that the proposed change to our Title 47 to allow the town of Lowell to actually allow open burning from October 1st through June 15th.
So do we need a motion that we accept the changes, or
Or just what your recommendation is to go to the board?
we recommend to go to the board as
Hmm.
written? All right.
That works.
Did you all follow that? Okay, so we need a motion.
And did everybody have a chance to review those in the email prior, or do we need to
I mean, I
read
realize,
through it?
it got added to the agenda late. That's why if the board, if the CAC doesn't feel comfortable with making a decision today, that's totally understandable.
It's just the highlighted in yellow, correct? Those
Yeah.
are the changes. Okay,
Getting rid of one paragraph and adding the town of Lowell to the paragraph below it. So they can actually do open burning for that time period.
Peter, looks like you spoke, but you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you. I said I'm okay with the staff recommendation. I would support that.
Paul, any thoughts?
I would support it.
Okay, so we need a motion then.
Move to approve.
Second,
I third.
Okay. Any
Fourth,
discussion?
just kidding.
Okay, hearing no discussion, we'll vote and I'll say aye.
aye,
Okay, so that's unanimous.
So we'll keep you posted on for the SIP development plan that we have to follow, state implementation development plan. That we use to get rules through the whole process, which eventually it does involve EPA and it does involve DEQ and the EQC.
It's a whole big thing for a
Yeah.
simple change.
I did think of a roundtable
Yes.
item, if you guys have a minute. Is that something that just
Sure, it's
occurred to
got
me? I recently went to an OCAPA event, Oregon Concrete and Aggregate, Asphalt Aggregate Associates. And NIOSH was there and presented, and I'm only linking this now because of the dust conversation, is that one of the problems with crystalline silica and
Mhm.
doing dust monitoring, and this kind of applies to a lot of our permittees, is that there's no real-time data collection results, right? Is that you have to collect these, use your little cylinders and collect the dust samples, send them into a lab, and you get this stuff weeks later. But NIOSH presented that they are working on a 5-year plan to come up with a real-time data collection.
Hmm.
And they were looking for people to submit dust and like samples. Anyways, I thought that was pretty cool and could actually impact a lot of permittees potentially, depending on, people that have crystalline silica potential. Because that's something that it seems like a lot of public comments and concerns around dust are because of crystalline silica. So anyways, that could be something that, hopefully down the line will be something that we'll see. I don't know if anybody's familiar with like PIDs and that sort of stuff where you can, get real-time results right then and there, but thought that was interesting. So.
All right, well, thanks. Okay, so now we're adjourned.
Now we're adjourned.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
See you in September.
Yeah.